Thank you all so much for coming. So tonight we're going to talk about finding a better way. You know, sometimes when I was growing up, I had this question appear in my heart. There's got to be a better way than this. Why does it have to be the way it is? Why does society, why does the world seem to force us to be a certain way? And there's a certain conception of what is happiness and what is success and what will bring about satisfaction that the world presents. And we can accept that or we can reject that. But we should intelligently question, is there another way? Is there another process for finding happiness? So generally the world presents four things as a satisfying option for our lives. It presents sense gratification. That's a big one. That the more we can gratify our senses through seeing beautiful things, tasting beautiful things, touching beautiful things, associating with beautiful people, having experiences. This is seen by many people as the goal of life, as that which is desirable, and that will make me happy. Some people are presented and accepting the goal of life as making money. If I make lots of money, once I have that, this artha, I can become happy, because once I have lots of money, I'll be free to do what I want to do. It gives me more freedom to do the things I want to do. And therefore I can fulfill my senses in a more powerful way. So that's also presented. And then there's dharma or religion, that if I become a good person, if I just, live by the book and I'm a good human being, then I'll be happy. And people, they put in this karmic factor that, I get good karma in that way. I do dharma, I get good karma, and therefore I can become happy. I don't need money, I don't need riches, but at least I'll be happy by doing this dharma. And then if someone is burned out with this kama, sense gratification, artha, economic development, and dharma, religion, someone may approach liberation. That actually the real goal of life is to become liberated from all this suffering and go back to the spiritual world, or to cease this material activity and become enlightened. Many times people think this means merging into the Brahma Jyoti, or the all-pervading effulgence of God. So the Srimad Bhagavatam in the second verse explains dharma prochito kaitavo, that this is what's called kaitava dharma. Srila Prabhupada translates this to cheating religions. Those religions which do not bring about full satisfaction, which are based upon economic development, sense gratification, religion, just mundane religiosity, and liberation. These types of religions are defined in the second verse of our Srimad Bhagavatam as cheating religions, which is a very heavy statement. Why is that? Because they don't bring about full satisfaction of the self. And the fundamental understanding of the Krishna consciousness movement and of God is that only when we become completely selfless in our hearts can we be fully satisfied. It's the selflessness, it's this giving, it's this being an instrument of love that allows us to become truly happy. And so all of these things, even up to liberation, are based on me. They're based on I need money, I want sense gratification, I want to be a good person and seen as a good person, and I'm going to follow the rules and regulations, and I want to cease my suffering in this material world by becoming liberated. So in all these ways and forms, there's a selfish mentality. There's a mentality of what am I going to get out of this? So that is not real happiness. So when you kind of zoom in on the world today, we find a lot of people are unhappy. We're more connected than ever. We have internet and email and Facebook and Instagram, and I can call my friends in Africa. I can call my friends in Russia. I can call my friends in South America right now. And when you go to India and you go to our temple in Mayapur, you meet devotees from all over the world and you become friends with people from every continent. It's quite amazing. So I can call any of them right now, but we find that even though the world is more connected than ever, loneliness is becoming an epidemic. In fact, it's one of the number one causes of depression in the world, loneliness. The population is greater than it's ever been in recorded history. We have almost 8 billion people, and people are more lonely than ever. So how is this the case? There's more people, but people are more lonely. So in order to understand what is real happiness, we should understand what is real sadness. So the general thing people want is they want to have positive interactions with others. They want to have loving relationships with others. They want to have friends. They want to do things with their friends. They want to do things with their families. And many times, even though they're presented with so many pleasures, they can be alcoholics, they can be absorbed in watching television, they can absorb themselves in work and become workaholics. But unless they have a solid basis of people with whom to interact with in a positive way, even though they have great success materially, they're still very, very unhappy. So as with every single class you'll find here, our solution to this problem is Krishna. Right? That's our solution. Our solution to the problems of the material world, which are culminating in this birth, death, old age, and disease, and all of the miseries caused by nature, miseries caused by our own minds, and miseries caused by other living entities. The solution to these material problems is spiritual. So this understanding that a spiritual solution is required for a material problem. A material problem cannot be solved with a material solution. You can't fix a problem with more of the same problem. So we're in a material world. It's affected by this inferior energy of God. It's a lower energy. And so therefore, us being of a superior energy, of a spiritual energy, we're affected by it. And therefore, we fall under these symptoms of suffering. So we should understand, what is spiritual life? What is ultimate spiritual life? Is spirituality is the solution, which many people have come to realize that. If you're here, many times people who come here, they've at least had some realization that I can find some happiness from a spiritual life. When I have a deeper connection with the spiritual reality, with God, then I'll become happier. And just in general, it's a fact that people who are religious, whatever religion they may be, they're generally happier. So what is ultimate spiritual life? This is what we're talking about. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's described that whatever religion you may see, that doesn't make a difference, but there are 3 levels of consciousness that manifest themselves within these religions. Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavaniti Shabdyate. That someone can be a jnani, they can be someone who is very interested in understanding what is matter and what is spirit, and the goal of such a person is to have an impersonal relationship with the divine, with the supreme, by merging into the unity of all things. This is called Brahman. This is a very common thing we hear amongst people we speak to. I want to merge into Brahman. That's good. There's some spiritual happiness involved in that, but it's not the ultimate spiritual happiness. Then there's Paramatma. This is the yogis. We find that in the Himalayas, there's great yogis. They meditate in caves. And even in the Christian world, there's the desert fathers who would go into caves in Egypt and Syria, and they would meditate and pray for many, many years. And what they achieve is this Paramatmeti. There's a connection that the Lord is in my heart, and I feel the divine presence within my heart. It's a very elevated state of being. It's a result of practicing mystic yoga. And then there's the bhaktas, those who are devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that the source of both this Brahman, this all-pervasive energy, and this sense of divinity within all things, the source of that is this personality of Godhead, who in the Christian world they call the Father, which is outside of time and space. And that because in that state of relationship with this supreme person outside of time and space, one has loving interactions, one has loving relationships. And therefore the bhaktas are considered the most enlightened, the most aware of spiritual reality, because a bhakta realizes the personality of Godhead outside of time and space. He realizes the all-pervasive aspect of him, and he realizes the divinity within everybody's heart. So we can give an analogy here that there's a sunlight, that when you go outside and you stand in the sun, you can say, I'm in the sun. So you're in the energy of the sun, but you're not at the sun planet. The sun planet is the localized aspect, the Paramatma aspect. And when you go deeper, we can understand that there is a personality or a divine being behind the sun. We can, in simple terms, call that the sun god. There's an entity, there's a consciousness behind the sun, and a devata, and his name is Vivasan. So in that way, there's these different levels of understanding, but of them, personal is the best. So 5,000 years ago, a group of highly elevated and highly intelligent, the world's best, got together to have a seminar on what is going to bring about real happiness. Like we have these seminars now. Sometimes, it's like the consciousness seminar. When I lived in Sedona, there was a lot of this stuff, the consciousness seminar, the happiness seminar. Sometimes we go and distribute books at the Peace Fair, which is a very unpeaceful place, believe it or not. Never seen more people fighting anywhere than Peace Fair. But they have these gatherings to kind of come to a solution. And so, but these were really the best of the best. These were the cream of the crop, the brightest faces. And they elected one president of the assembly, Sutta Goswami, and they asked him 6 questions. One of those questions was, what is the highest good for all humanity? And he said, Savai pum sampara dharmo yato bhaktir dhoksaje ahaitu kyapratiyata yayatma suprasidati. That the supreme occupation, the supreme activity for all humanity, pumsam, is bhakti yoga, means to have love in your heart for God, to develop love for God. We call God Krishna. God has unlimited names. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. When one has love for God in their heart, which is characterized by being unmotivated and uninterrupted. So many times in this world, our love is motivated. I love you because you're giving me something. And if you stop this interaction or this facility in which you're giving me, then my love for you will cease. And therefore we see there's 50% of all marriages end in divorce. And then besides that, all of the relationships that happen before marriage these days also have to end. So much of the time there's a business aspect to real love. And it's more and more common nowadays. It's more and more common. So that's because, in the basic sense, people are more and more selfish as this age progresses. So, is unmotivated, uninterrupted love will bring about yayatma suprasidati. Atma means the soul. Atma means the mind. Atma means the body. Sanskrit words have a lot of meanings. So Atma has all these meanings, but in the sense that actually this bhakti, this love, which one can develop for the supreme being, will bring happiness to the mind. Everybody's mind is always disturbed, right? In Kali Yuga, we're always having something we're dealing with. I know I am. And the soul's our ultimate, who we ultimately are. That will become happy. And the body, because one who lives in such a way, their body is in the sattva guna, it's in the mode of goodness, and therefore their body even becomes more healthy. So one can have ultimate satisfaction of the self by practicing this bhakti yoga. So this is what we teach here. This is what we're all about here. We're propagating the Krishna consciousness movement, the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is the first step in bhakti yoga. One should chant the name of God, because by chanting the name of God, one develops attachment for the Lord, and one develops association with the Lord, because the name of God is none different from God himself. And the other process is to hear, just like I'm chanting right now, I'm speaking about Krishna, and you're hearing. And so it says that one who hears in the proper association, they develop a Shraddha Ratir Bhakti Anukramishati. They develop faith, love, and attachment for the Supreme Lord, and they develop this ultimate state of happiness. So back to this loneliness epidemic and this sense that people, they need interaction. This is why we have so many different places people go to interact. We have bars, we have music festivals, we have events. You go to a college campus, which I go to regularly, usually 2 to 3 times a week. I go to the college campus, and there's always an event going on. Some of them are really far out, like throw a pie in your face event. They have these events, but people they're really stretching to find something to do. They really, okay, I knew one of my friends, actually my friend, but, just to find events, they were at like a typewriter fest. And they were actually the whole event was they were just typing on antique typewriters. So people are really, they're really grabbing for something. So what we're saying is that, people are looking for interactions, but they're not satisfying them. So let's get practical here. What is this process of spiritual life? So one of our great and most prominent saints coming from Lord Chaitanya's time is Srila Rupa Goswami. And he compiled a book called the Upadesh Amrita, which Srila Prabhupada translated into the Nectar of Instruction. And in this Upadesh Amrita, Rupa Goswami, he gives 11 quintessential instructions to become successful in spiritual life. And I was gonna go through a few of those, because at instruction number 4, we see what is the purpose of this movement and what is the solution to this loneliness problem. Sometimes we find one great American transcendentalist, might have been Thoreau. I think it was Thoreau, but it might have been another one too. But anyhow, he said, even if one's in the company, of many people, they can still feel lonely. I know that sometimes in the most lonely times I've experienced in my life, I've been, with my family, with my friends, but still we feel lonely. So that's not, but however, in other times, by the mercy of the devotees of Krishna, even when I'm alone, sometimes I feel completely satisfied and not alone at all. So this is the nature of spiritual life. And like my spiritual master often says, is that when you become Krishna conscious, when this bhakti yoga begins to develop, things begin to fall away. And one of those things is loneliness. It's one of those feelings that you don't really remember what it feels like. Also, this feeling of hate, these things fall away. I know what it is, but I can't really remember what it feels like. Because one who's a devotee of God, he never feels lonely. He feels the presence of God everywhere. And God is the greatest and the sweetest friend of all. Krishna is your sweetest friend. Suridam Sarva Bhutanam. He's the friend of all living entities. The Surit, meaning the sweetest friend. So the very first thing that Rupa Goswami Pad says is that he says, Vacho vegam manasakroda vegam, jiva vegam udaprasta vegam, etan vegam yovashadeta dira, sarvam apimim prativim sashishyat. Beautiful Sanskrit verse. But he says we need to control 6 urges. That one who can control 6 urges of the body and mind, such a person is fit to become a teacher. But what this verse is also indicating is that we also have to become qualified by controlling these urges. So it says that a sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak. So this urge to speak, we all want to say something so much of the time, but it's a fundamental principle in almost all spiritual practices that what we speak is very powerful, and it should be pleasing, it should be truthful, it should be beneficial, it should be according to the laws and codes given by God. It should be non-agitating to others. This is what Krishna says, is the austerity of speech. We want to speak words that are truthful and pleasing and not agitating, uplifting. So therefore we speak about Krishna, we speak about spiritual subject matters. And you don't want to speak unnecessarily about mundane things, although it is necessary to speak about them sometimes. So a sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands. The mind is always demanding so many things. It's the mind that tells us, I want this, I want that, I want this, I don't want this, I don't want to do this, I really don't want to do this, don't do it. So the mind is always commanding us. And when one becomes under control of the mind, when the mind becomes our guru, when the mind becomes our leader, we're in big trouble. That's how we find ourselves in so many problems, so many unfavorable circumstances. But when one can develop the discipline to control the mind, then one finds life is very easy. Just like if you don't know how to drive a car, and the first time you drive a car, it's a little scary. You don't really know what you're doing. But as you begin to become practiced in the art of driving a car, you can actually have fun driving. You can do it, practically. You can, your mind can go dwell on other things and you can still just drive. So in that way, when the mind becomes strong, we can easily operate this human life in a way that's much more pleasing. So the mind's demands, one who can tolerate the actions of anger. So this anger, people always want to get angry. They have some reason to become angry, especially now that we're in a world where it's encouraged to get angry. You should get angry about all these problems, all these political things. We should get angry. And, like we're validating bad behaviors. No, actually, anger is very destructive. And although it can be used in the proper way, it can be channeled the proper way, generally, it should be controlled. Not that we don't feel it, but we don't act on it, right? We control it. It's not saying that this urge doesn't exist. It does exist. Like all these urges do exist. The mind exists. We can't get rid of it. However, we can tolerate it. That means we don't make a fool of ourselves. We don't let our emotions control us. And then it says that one should be able to tolerate the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals. So these are the very low-dimensional or gross functions of the body. Oh, people want to taste so many things. They want to eat so many things. They're very much attracted to the opposite sex in so many ways. And so that will also pull us away from the spiritual reality. So what this verse is saying is that we have to have control of this bodily unit. We really have to get control of it to be happy. If we don't got control of our mind and our body, then we won't be happy. And we can't make any progress in spiritual life. So if we can do that, then we can really begin. And so the Krishna consciousness movement gives the solution to that. How do we control the body and senses? It's described in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says that one can cease the urges of the body by experiencing a higher taste. So when one tastes spiritual pleasure, which is a very real and powerful experience, when one has spiritual pleasure, one can easily let go of the mind and the body's demands. It's very easy. And so that's why we actually chant Hare Krishna. We chant Hare Krishna because Krishna is the source of all happiness. Krishna is the source of all pleasure. Krishna is the source of all satisfaction. And by connecting with Krishna, one becomes satisfied in the soul. And the happiness of the soul supersedes the happiness of the body and the mind. And therefore, Krishna says, such a person is fixed in consciousness. He says that although a taste for such things remains, it's not like I can't observe that there is a pizza over there. And I do smell that pizza, even though I know I shouldn't eat that pizza right now. It's not that we don't understand that these things do exist, but it is that I have control over it because I'm fixed in consciousness. I'm experiencing a higher taste, and I'm acting in such a way that I'm maintaining that higher taste rather than falling into lower tastes. So the process of bhakti yoga, which we teach here every morning at 8 o'clock, and everything we do here is based on teaching this process of bhakti yoga. Everything we do here helps one to overcome these lower states of being and achieve a higher state of being. So then Rupa Goswami gives 2 other instructions, and I'm not going to read them both because I want to get to number 4. And just in short, he gives us 6 things which we should do. One of those things is becoming very enthusiastic in our spiritual life. I'm enthusiastic to have a spiritual awakening, and he gives us 6 things we shouldn't do. One of those things is associate with people who will bring us down in spiritual consciousness. Humans are creatures of association. So the group of people we associate with, those are the people we're going to be like. So we should always think in whatever endeavor we want to do, whether that be material or spiritual. If I want to be successful in business, I should associate with successful business people in a humble way so that they will teach me, give me their secrets. If I want to, become a drunkard, I should associate with drunkards. But if I want to become spiritually enlightened and achieve the highest happiness, I should associate with those who are spiritually advanced. And that's a very powerful process. That's the most powerful association. It said that even a moment's association with a spiritually advanced person can change an entire life. So the last instruction, this is what we're getting at here, is that there are 6 loving exchanges that devotees of God, that spiritually minded people take part in. And in the purport to this verse is Didati Prati Grinati Guya Makyati Prichati Bhakte Bojayate Chaiva Sadvidam Priti Lakshanam, says that offering gifts in charity, accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially, accepting prasad, food offered to the Lord, and offering food offered to the Lord are the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another. And in the purport to this verse, Srila Prabhupada says, this is the purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement. That the purpose of this movement is to have loving exchanges with each other. And so if we're not on that platform, we're not really in the Krishna consciousness movement. We're in some other movement. So loving exchanges are very important, and they satisfy us. So even we find that, even sometimes when I was a kid, we had our little dog. Whenever we would come home, the dog would always present us with some gift. Every time we'd come, he would grab his toy, he would grab his bone, he would grab whatever it was, and he would come and place it at our feet. He was very, very, every time, he had to present us with a gift. So this is a natural tendency of the soul to present, to give gifts. But what we're saying is that when we do it in a spiritual way, it brings people very close together, and it allows us to have very deep and loving relationships. So one should give gifts. It doesn't matter the monetary value. It's the thought that counts. Whenever a person who's spiritually advanced gives you a gift, or you give a gift to them, something related to the Lord, that's very, very meaningful. That increases the love between each other. And it's very hard to do that in the materialistic society. People they're greedy, so many things. But when in spiritual society, this becomes our actual motivation. Someone is taking prasadam together, taking blessed food together, and speaking about spiritual topics. And then very important one is hearing one's mind in confidence. So you hear someone is revealing their mind to you. They may have some struggle in their heart, and they reveal their mind to you, and you give them some advice, or you reveal your mind to someone else. I know that whenever I'm really having some craziness in my mind, I speak to certain devotees, and I reveal that to them, and then I feel so much relief. So this is the purpose of our movement. And when we become Krishna conscious, we actually enter a world of beautiful interactions, beautiful, loving exchanges. And so as we become closer to God, we become closer to each other. As we become farther from God, as society is unfortunately doing, we become farther from each other. I once heard that any relationship is like a triangle. There's no 2, there's 3. There's you, and there's the other person, and then there's Krishna. And as you go farther from Krishna, you become farther apart. As you become closer to Krishna, by chanting Hare Krishna and taking Krishna Prasadam and doing all these things, you become closer to each other. So therefore, we should first and foremost cultivate our consciousness of God. Cultivate this God consciousness, and you'll see how you develop so much deeper and more loving interactions with each other. And as in any relationship, if we see that relationship is put under deep stress, most of the time it's because we're forgetting Krishna and we're thinking of ourselves. We're becoming selfish. So this is our message tonight. Please chant Hare Krishna. Please come to this temple and listen and take books and understand and learn this science, because it's very powerful and it changes so many people's lives. I've personally witnessed that and experienced that myself. Thank you very much. We have some time for quick questions if one would like to ask a question or comment. I agree. Omar Prabhu.
Thank you for my new class. I was wondering about what makes a loving exchange like a loving exchange. Like if I give you something and you stared at me, your face didn't change at all, you didn't react, you just took it and did nothing. I guess to some degree it's still a loving exchange, but I'm expressing a mode of love. But if you responded, said something, then it feels more like a loving exchange. So it's but with God, it's okay, so I pick a flower and then I offer it to God, and then it's he's invisible, or he's he's present, but I can't directly see how he's reacting or get a sense of there's not as much of a sense of exchange as I could have with you. So it feels a little bit more empty sometimes. But then you can respond in different ways.
Are you asking about a loving exchange with God or with another person?
I guess loving exchanges in general, but I guess in particular with God, how do you feel the response of God's love when you offer something?
Krishna says, Yayatam mam prapadyante. He says that as we surrender unto him, he rewards us accordingly. So the more love and devotion we surrender that fruit, flower, water, or leaf, the more we can do that, the more we're going to experience that reciprocation. And we begin learning that by our experiences with devotees. When we offer love to the devotees, their love is also a manifestation of God's love. And when we offer something to God, actually on the altar or whenever we're offering something, we're offering first and foremost to our spiritual master. Because we experience that when we offer our love to the Guru, we actually do get real reciprocation. That helps us in the beginning to realize God's reciprocation. And then in time, one develops a sense of God's reciprocation. And we experience that, one just practical experience is that, people come to Govinda's, so many times and they ask, what is in this food? Why is this food so good? And when I analyze Govinda's food from the material point of view, I cannot figure that out because I've cooked rice my whole life. I've cooked these vegetables, we're not like, we don't like overdo the spices or anything, but people are addicted. And sometimes they say, what's the recipe? And we give them the recipe and they say, I cooked exactly the recipe, but it wasn't as good as yours. That's because they're tasting Krishna's love. And when devotees take prasadam, we experience that actually. Even if you become conscious of it, you'll realize that more of that over prasadam, you're uplifted. Over blessed food, you'll be uplifted. But it's a subtle thing. But yes, in time, you experience that reciprocation more and more in everything you do for God. Like chanting Hare Krishna in the beginning, you may not experience so much taste. But as you begin to chant more and more and more, chanting becomes so relishable that it's very hard to stop chanting. You experience so much reciprocation from Krishna. So it's a process of development.
Would you say when Krishna reciprocates for you that it's like something that you feel, like it's like a state of consciousness that you experience, or like how would you say it? Like
I would say that, yeah, I would say it's something that you definitely become aware of it, and in your own consciousness, that offering, and we're not looking for reciprocation. Also, that's another thing. The more you want to look for reciprocation, it becomes a business deal. And I need you to reciprocate with me. But the more that Krishna, whether you respond or not, this is yours. I'm offering this to you. That is a much more moving mood that I'm giving this to you out of love. I don't really need you to reciprocate, but I'm offering this to you. Or I'm offering this service. I'm offering this chanting. I don't need reciprocation. In that state, Krishna reciprocates more. Thank you very much. I think we're out of time. So now we're going to do some chanting, and then we'll have some blessed food, prasadam. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.